Welcome, everybody. Hello. We're here. We're back. Welcome back to the Woody Allen Show, episode 2, season 1, I guess. We'll see how many of these go for. We tonight are going to be talking about the next 2 movies in Woody Allen's filmography. Last time we talked about What's Up, Tiger Lily, and Take the Money and Run. Tonight it is Bananas and Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex, but We're Afraid to Ask. So I'm Tom, and we got Abe and Shawn. You guys can introduce yourselves however you like. Or not.
I'm Abe. I guess you'd know me from my book of How to Achieve Advanced Sexual Positions Without Laughing.
Right, yes.
Yes.
I'm Shawn, and I'm the resident Long Island crazy.
I noticed that the joke about laughing and sex is that's recurring in his movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess in your title thing, which I like the titles because I think the banana opening credits are really neat. This is, I think, the only time in his career where he was really experimenting with fun opening credits.
Yeah, I think so.
He just gave up on that at some point. I mean, he every once in a while he kind of messes with the formula a little bit, but yeah, I thought the banana ones were fun. It's a very fun energy the whole time, even the credits you get. And so I was glad you were able to kind of replicate that a little bit. It doesn't quite match up.
No, it doesn't quite match up at all. No, that's what we were going for. Just a little tribute to Bananas.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of. I guess both of these movies we have tonight they're fun movies. I think they're basically entertaining. I'm not a huge fan of either of them. I think Bananas, the opening credits are probably my favorite part. If we're just going to start right away, but I think I like Bananas more than Everything You Want to Know About Sex, but We're Afraid to Ask overall. I'd have to say. What are you guys' general impressions?
I would agree with your assessment on the 2 movies. These are not going to be 2 Woody Allen movies I go back to time and time again. They're as fun. They are humorous. There's some good ideas in both. But, and I don't know which one I even like better. I like the cameos with the Howard Cosell and stuff like that. It's funny. Not everything hits, but, he's a work in progress at this time, Woody. He shows glimpses of his greatness to come, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that opening sequence with Howard Cosell is not just the best sequence in the movie, but it's actually really brilliant. I think that Woody was actually hitting some really good satire right there. And he was way ahead of his time as far as, us watching this political upheaval of these poor people's lives as a sporting event at home on TV.
Yeah, I think both movies are really clever in that way. Bananas, as a social commentary, is probably a lot more interesting than what it ends up kind of being in terms of the plot or characters or anything.
Is it even really social commentary? Outside of that, first sequence, I don't recall any more social commentary.
I think you kind of get that same level of there's some degree of he's playing with some of these things. Yeah, I feel like Bananas feels like kind of an angry movie to me. I feel like he's angry about a lot of real things that kind of is being channeled through the humor, but he doesn't want to be too, I don't know, he doesn't want to bring it so much to the forefront because he doesn't want to make a message movie or anything. But I get the sense that politically this is more of a charged Woody Allen than we've seen up to this point, and maybe even after this.
Well, it's got to be a knock on America's getting involved in these other countries and stuff like that, Central America. I mean, I guess I'm not sure of the history, but it's ahead of his time with the Iran-Contra and stuff, getting involved with those lunatic people down there, those fucking warmongers and stuff. But it is probably his most political movie, I would guess.
But it's so just on the surface, and he uses this idea of that and just frames, okay, I'm going to say it, some really shitty gags. I don't think Woody's slapstick is working very well in Bananas at all. I mean, were you laughing at any of this stuff?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he's got this great premise and he just decides to do slapstick. That's not to say there aren't some good jokes in there. I think the one joke that really got me is when he goes to the dinner with the general and his suit still has the alteration marks on it. I mean, that really killed me.
I like when he bites into the glass. I thought that was funny. There's some little things, but I feel like stylistically both of these movies are very interesting. I think visually he's trying a lot of things, and I feel like the scripts for both are lazier than take the money and run. Even
Wow. Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm trying to think. There was that one little part in Bananas I found really, really interesting. The when he's talking to his shrink about the dream and the crucifixions and the parallel parking fight he has, and the following scene in the park. I feel like right there, he's close. He's close to actually realizing what he's going to be doing in the future. You know, because the Louise Lasser, Nancy, is telling him there's something missing in him: passion, intelligence, sincerity. And the way it's shot, with the foreground kind of blocking what we're supposed to be looking at with the trees and the foliage and everything, I don't know. I feel like he's right there. There's a kernel of his idea right there.
I think even in Everything You Always Wanted to Know, a lot of these things are shot really interestingly, and you can tell that he's a lot more confident with the camera, and he's confident enough with the script. But it seems like he's kind of just. It almost seems like he's doing these funny gags so he can shoot them interestingly, as opposed to just trying to make a movie that works on any level. I don't know. I don't know what sense you guys get. I was impressed visually more so than I thought I would.
Or do you feel that? Do you feel that he was still known as a comedy writer and he had to do these comic movies at the beginning, or they wouldn't take him doing something that wasn't like a skit type of film yet?
I mean, maybe to some extent. It seems like he's trying really hard to do a lot of that slapstick, sort of more of these, these sort of harkening back to silent era stuff. Or, I mean, obviously Marx Brothers are huge for Bananas. I don't know if that's just that he was comfortable sort of in that language because it's a much more simple formula, sort of how to do the story, how to sort of structure it. But I think you still see there's those instances where he's branching out, and I don't know if it's intentionally that he wants to do something more but feels limited, or just he found that he was kind of good at some of these things and sort of started to get more, I don't know, try to flex his muscles a little bit more sort of as he went. But I think you see a big difference even between Bananas. There's a lot of similarities between Bananas and Love and Death, I feel like. And you can see a huge leap in sort of where he is as a writer, I think, when you get to Love and Death, that you absolutely don't see in these early ones. And I think you start to see more of that. I mean, when we do Sleeper and Love and Death next time, I think we'll start to see the Woody Allen that went on to, make everything else he made in the 70s come out a little bit more. I don't know. Do you guys think do you think he felt limited or was self-limiting, or was he just playing around and then decided to take it seriously a little bit later, a couple of years after this?
Man, I don't know. Like I said, I see flourishes in Bananas of what he wants to be, but that it doesn't work in this movie because this whole angst that he has of himself and that Nancy is compounding. I don't know. It doesn't feel like this is the movie that you want to be doing this in because there's not going to be any character growth or change or anything. It's really interesting to me how he did that and why he did that.
I also
noticed. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I also thought it was weird how her character kind of disappeared for a long time in it. Like he kind of went down there to show her what he was made out of, and she's almost like an afterthought after he gets out and gets back, and so that to me was strange. And maybe it was a time thing. Maybe she was edited out. I don't know what was cut from it. Again, I tend to think that maybe it was a studio type thing that said you gotta kind of write these comedies because you're known as a comedian, but I don't really know the answer to that. So.
I know musically, I noticed a big difference there. Bananas is scored so much more broadly, I feel like, than his other things. Even Take the Money and Run. The way he's treating the humor is different, I think, in Bananas than it is in his other movies. He draws a lot of attention to it, I guess, is really what the difference is, as opposed to sort of blending it in with everything else that's going on. And I think with the love story stuff, I guess it seems like he almost feels like he has to frame all of his stories around a love story at this point, even though they're basically gags, or I guess when you get to love or sex, I guess at this point.
No, you're right. I think you're absolutely right about the music. Hell, I think you're right about that statement almost throughout the movie. He really wants to draw attention to the gags. There's like one subtle joke in here, and that's the Battleship Potemkin tribute with the cradle. That's like the one joke he really doesn't, draw attention to it and make sure you notice it. It's subtle.
And also, how many people would actually even get that joke? You know, do you think the average moviegoer in 1970 or whatever would have gotten that? I mean, the movie's 50 years old, or even more, 60 years old at the time. So I think that was maybe towards his, artistic friends. You know,
Do you get the sense that he has artistic friends? I mean, it's his relationship with some of the more like obviously he's very big into European stuff. He's big into Bergman and a lot of that. It's hard to know, I guess. I don't know when that exactly happened or how much he was conscious of with these. I'm really curious. Just what do you guys think about his? What is his general ambition? Is he just trying to be goofy? Is there more to it? I mean, is he trying for something bigger and failing? Because it's hard to tell with Bananas. I think, especially.
it doesn't seem like it's. They're both very TV like and not TV like now like. They're both very 70s TV like or 60s TV like. Nothing too sophisticated or nothing too outrageous even. It seems like a TV show to me, like a skit show. Both of them actually.
I think even just the fades and everything you always want to know about sex when it fades to black. It's such a. I feel like so trained just from watching a DVD or whatever where there's the commercial break that's been taken out. That's what it looks like. I think even watching it, but well, I mean, he did start in TV. I guess what I'm confused about is I feel like Take the Money and Run is very episodic, but it didn't feel so much like a TV movie. But I do agree that both of these ones do, and it seems like there's just a lot less attention paid to the structuring of it in these ones, and I'm not sure what the reason is for that. Maybe he just thought, well, if I make it funny, it doesn't really matter. I don't know.
Well, Shawn was talking about the editing, and he's right. I remember reading that like they could have made a whole movie out of the footage they cut. I can't help but wonder if he just packed it too full.
For which one? For Bananas?
For Bananas, yeah. Like apparently he was swinging for the fences. He wanted a joke after joke after joke after joke, just nonstop.
I think he does that with some of his other ones, like Sleeper and Love and Death are that, but they don't feel like they're trying so hard to be that. I guess is why those work better, maybe.
Huh.
I don't know. So, I mean, in terms of, I guess Bananas. I don't know. I don't do like we never really talk about how we always kind of comparing the movies, and I think we're always going to be stuck doing that. But I mean, is there anything like just that stuck out to you about Bananas on its own before we sort of go into the other one and then see where this conversation goes?
No, I mean, it's a good idea and everything. Kind of reminds me of that. Remember the Richard Dreyfuss movie Moon Over Parador? That had a similar theme, and it was kind of a not Richard Dreyfuss' greatest movie either. But there is definitely something there. I just think that maybe either he couldn't nail it himself, or maybe they didn't let him nail it, and it just went back to slapstick.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, I agree with that.
It's hard to sense from the book too whether because we were talking about this the chapters on Bananas and everything you always wanted to know barely cover that in the Woody Allen book where he's talking. He's kind of just talking, and then they're vaguely chaptered like they're about the specific movie. So I'm curious, just even, and maybe Abe, the biography you are reading can explain a little more. I mean, I wonder, is he satisfied with these ones? Does he like these early ones?
It doesn't. It's hard to tell. He doesn't really seem to want to talk about them.
That's exactly what it seems like.
That's what I was going to say. Definitely.
So I don't think that anybody. I think if a studio, like you had said, Shawn, had kind of interfered with him or the producers, I think he would have blasted him. But what I think we're seeing is a guy that's not 100% comfortable yet. I mean, he's painfully shy. We all know that. He's only comfortable when he's writing or perhaps directing, but he may never be comfortable directing right now. I think what we're seeing is a guy that doesn't have full confidence and faith in himself yet. So he's using the slapstick as a safety net.
And okay, so then, what do you make about the transition to go from Take the Money and Run to Bananas, which is almost more ambitious in some ways, and maybe that has that safety net the same way?
Yeah.
Then Everything You Always Wanted to Know seems like a step back in a lot of ways.
Well, I was really interested. Did you guys read any of the IMDb stuff about this?
Yeah.
No, what is it?
That Dr. Rubin was promoting his book on which they based the film, and he went to the Carson show, and Carson asked, "Is sex dirty?" And Rubin replied, it is if you're doing it right. Alan was so pissed that Ruben stole his joke that he got the rights to do this film as a form of revenge against him. Is that real? Do you guys really think is that plausible? Is this a spite film?
I think, spite's a good reason to make a movie, man, if you can.
He had clout at this point, right? He'd had a couple hits with the last couple.
Oh yeah,
right?
he's making money. Like it's his formula. He takes a little money, he spins it into more money.
I mean, it's an easy way to. If you're going to make a movie for revenge, this is probably an easier one than a lot of different other movies that he's made. I mean, you just write 5 skits or whatever and get them going.
Right. Do you want to talk about the skits?
Sure. I think. Well, I guess if we're going in order,
okay.
Okay. So, first one is the court jester one. Was the
aphrodisiacs? Do
aphrodisiacs work? Yeah. Thoughts on this one?
I loved this one actually. Woody is killing me as he's bombing those jokes to the king. Save your applause to the end. It's just it's just awesome.
I thought it was weird how he addresses the camera so often. He breaks the fourth wall very frequently.
I wondered about that. I know Woody is supposedly a Bob Hope fan. Mm-hmm. Bob Hope was a huge fan of doing period pieces using modern terminology and then turning around and talking to the camera while he was doing it.
That's probably what it is.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah. I don't know. This one's okay, I think. It's clever, but I don't know.
It's not your favorite?
No, the Gene Wilder one's absolutely my favorite. I think that one's hilarious.
The royal tomatoes. That kills me.
This one it felt like, I think if I was not as familiar with other Woody movies, that one part, this specific part would be funnier to me. But it feels like, just watching some of these earlier movies, there are things that you know that he's done a better job with, sort of playing with a lot of the same things, some of the same jokes, even the same terminology. I don't know. He did it in a way that I like more, sort of going forward. What do you think, Sean?
Like the first episode, the first skit, it was funny. It had, it was humorous. But like when I look at both of these movies, they remind me of a couple of things that I like better, like the Carol Burnett Show or Monty Python's Flying Circus, or even Kentucky Fried Movie. I thought took everything you always wanted to know about sex formula, maybe, and it was funnier. And maybe because I saw it was a lot raunchier, I like that better. But I just, like I said, they're humorous, but I just didn't love everything in there.
I think that's a good point too. I don't think I'd thought about it, but just familiarity with other sketch shows and other these sort of things probably also put a damper on it, because I don't think Woody's writing is particularly. I don't think he does a bad job with it, but I don't know that it really is that in your face hilarious. Like compared to watching even Meaning of Life, I feel like this one never really catches you off guard the way that a lot of other good sketch things do. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It doesn't really go as far to offend you as Meaning of Life, or even Life of Brian, obviously, which, forget about it. Must have caused an uproar when it came out. Or even, The Holy Grail. It went out of its way to offend you. I don't think Woody ever really does that, but... So maybe that's where he's not hitting it.
Each of the sketches is very one note, or one joke, I guess, at the end of the day. They're all kind of, he has the one little thing, and he sort of minds as much of it as he can. But I feel like there's not really left turns in a lot of them, except maybe the Frankenstein one. I don't know.
Right.
That'd be the only one that kind of goes to an unexpected place. I feel like it takes it down the it's not, I don't think it's a very memorable movie, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I agree with you on the Gene Wilder one, because you kind of know exactly where it's going when this guy walks in and starts telling you oh, you know where this is going, but to see it, him take this freaking sheep to a hotel and stuff, it's just it's very surreal, actually. It's really surreal, and I think he's hitting a really great note there. It might not be laugh out loud funny, but I think he's trying something there. I enjoyed that one.
I think it would have been so much better if it had been anybody but Gene Wilder, I have to be honest.
What?
I just don't think he sells it very well at all.
I think the complete opposite. I think he sells the whole thing.
Oh man, I think it should be somebody else other than him.
Who would you cast?
He's really good at that. Straight being like taking it so seriously though.
I don't know that he is good at that. I honestly
really.
I think there's always that insanity bubbling underneath of that I want to explode underneath the whole time.
Well, you get that at the deli, which gets a little crazy, but that's still funny.
I mean, the character seems like Woody could have played it, but
Right,
I don't think it would have been nearly as funny if Woody played it because it would be you'd be able to anticipate so much of it, which I don't get that with Wilder. I don't know.
Really, I just don't. I don't know. Wilder's hit and miss for me. I think he only really hits on Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, and I think most of the time he's miss.
I think there's that level between that sort of gentleness and then just explosion that you get with him that I really think works in this one in selling it, and you don't get the same sort of irony I think that you get with a Woody Allen performance. You don't get it doesn't seem so much like he's in on the joke as much as he's just going through it, which I think that sells it. Would you have wanted to see Woody play that role?
I don't know. I think it would have been more interesting. I think it would have been
you'd know exactly what all the jokes and everything was going to be, though, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I kind of agree with Shawn that you kind of know where it's going anyway.
But do you want to see like Woody Allen playing the doctor as this like nerdy guy and he has no confidence? At least Gene Wilder, he gives you this idea he's like a dude that has it all going on and like he loses it all for a sheep. I mean, it's a little crazy.
It would have been funnier, to see somebody else like that was cast later. It would have been funnier to see somebody like Burt Reynolds do it, or Tony Randall. I mean, as somebody who is totally straight laced, kind of, or purely heterosexual in Burt's case.
Burt Reynolds would have been funny. I'll give you that.
Gene Wilder kind of exists in that weird area where anything can happen. It would have been funnier seeing somebody lose their dignity that you wouldn't expect.
That would go more for shocking the audience as opposed to what he actually went for.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I don't know. That one's my favorite though. I really enjoyed that one. I'm trying to think what was the third one's the Italian one.
Why
right?
do some women have trouble receiving an orgasm or reaching an orgasm?
Yeah. Okay. I was impressed. I didn't know. I don't know. I don't speak Italian, so I didn't.
Yeah.
It sounded good to me, but apparently it's not actually. He just learned it phonetically, is what he says in the book.
It works.
So,
yeah.
I think he played it off well, but
I love it. I love that he's going after some of his heroes here. I think making fun of the Italian film market. I love how women are either hypersexualized or they're totally lifeless, and Woody is a super suave playboy with the glasses. That just kills me.
It was really fun to see him play against his type in this one.
Very much so. Yeah, I love the super confident Woody here.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely a good one, and it's cool that it had a couple of good jokes in it, and it's cool to read the jokes because it's kind of like you're reading like a cool novel and you're seeing the visuals, which I thought that was shot pretty well.
Yeah, it goes back to what Tom said. Absolutely, it was shot well.
I mean, just it was a fun one, and it was fast enough. I think that. It didn't get slow or too repetitive. I think because it just had that visual energy. It had the difference with having to read the subtitles, and I enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun. What's the next one? I can't remember the order now. Is that the next one's? What's this question with it? It's the sex research one.
Are all transvestites homosexuals? This one I have no idea what to think of.
It was.
Is it a critique of gender roles? I mean, what's it trying to do?
I feel like he just thought it was funny to have the guy get his purse robbed, and
in the worst moment possible. Yeah,
it's just a big build up to that. I think.
Yeah. And like the title, it didn't even try to answer that question at all in my mind. Right? It was just some dude that dresses up like a chick.
Well, so far I don't know that we've had any of our questions really answered so far in this film. But no, I just don't get this one at all. Like. I didn't think it was very funny. I don't even know if I cracked a smile in this one.
I chuckled at the robbing. I think that's kind of funny, but it's this one. Which is an example where what I was saying with the last one, it has enough energy that you can get by, even though it's still pretty one note. This one doesn't really have any of that interesting energy because it's so much of the same thing over and over and over again. I could have done without this one, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I guess I like when the wife is just like ripping him a new one, and then they get into bed together and kiss. I mean, I found
It's
that
kind of yeah.
yeah. I mean, that was kind of funny. I didn't expect that, but overall, was not a fan of this one.
Okay, so then we're at sex research. What's the exact question on that one?
What are sex perverts?
Oh, perverts.
Do you remember this game show? The game show.
Oh, yeah. I keep thinking we're going to the research one next.
No.
I don't remember the order at all. I should have written it down.
Yes.
I thought I could remember like 5 or 6 things in a row. Apparently not.
And we thought you could exist on all these different layers, Tom.
So, okay, the game show was pretty funny, I think. I don't know, it kind of toes a line there where in the next few, I feel like he gets to this point where if you think too much about what we know about Woody in real life, there starts to be more to think about, I think, than he would have intended us to have.
Yeah, let's just stick to the movie. I think this is actually wonderful, the game show idea. I love the panel and asking questions. I think I got to harken back to Bananas just for a second. I like the idea. I don't like the execution. That's the problem. I don't know that it was very well done.
I actually thought this one was very well done. Maybe just because I also like the black and white, but absolutely loved the phony commercial. I thought that was great. I thought that,
in the locker room.
Yeah. I thought that was great. I thought that might be a shot at all the jocks out there that he probably wasn't when he was growing up. But I thought that was really well done. It was nice and subtle, and I thought the game show one was fun with a young Regis Philbin. I didn't even know he was that
awesome.
young.
Yeah. What I mean is, I think it was awesome. I think technically it was ahead of its time as far as doing a concept like this. When the rabbi is in the chair and his wife's eating pork at his feet, I wasn't laughing.
I kind of chuckled a little bit, I think. This one, I agree with your assessment. I think it was clever, and I think it's a great idea, and I think the commentary is pretty good. But I don't know if it's really that funny. I mean, in terms of laugh out loud or anything.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. I don't know exactly how to make of that.
I think it's getting darker, I guess, when we get to this point, maybe.
That's a good point, yeah.
And then it leads you into the next one. I think it prepares you a little bit for what you're going to get. Which I think is finally actually the next one.
There you go. Are the findings of doctors and clinics who do sexual research and experiments accurate?
I thought this one was pretty fun.
Oh, I love this one. I'm a sucker for those old horror movies to begin with. I love the tribute to them. Frankenstein meets the Blob kind of vibe it's got going on.
I forget the exact joke. I love putting the lesbian brain into the where did the guy I can't remember what was the profession of that guy? Do you remember
which one?
When they have he's saying his experiment. He's got the 2 people on the
he's transferring the brain of a lesbian into the body of a telephone repairman or something.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought that was hilarious.
That was a good joke. Yeah.
And great casting with John Carradine and stuff like it was that was definitely a funny one, and it gets crazy with the giant breast, but it's funny. It's a really good parody of like a cheesy 50s horror movie. I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think of different genres that Woody didn't really play in later on. For him to sort of experiment in some of these, this one worked really well with his style. I think. I could see him trying to do a sort of spoof on these in a feature-length setting and then actually working, which I don't think I'd say about the other ones in this movie.
No, I agree with you on that. I think that maybe with the Italian one, but for the most part, we're really seeing his passion here. I think he loved these movies growing up, and I think it shows. There's some care, and he put some real work into shooting it and getting the vibe right.
Mm-hmm. All right, so go ahead.
Plus, this particular one, everybody plays it pretty straight, which makes it a little bit funnier. Except for Carradine, who can be the lunatic.
They called me mad at Masters and Johnson.
Well, is that all we got on that one? There's not a lot of analysis. I feel like we're drawing out way more analysis than anyone would think we would for these movies, probably. But
that's funny. Well, I told you guys off air, but I'll tell everybody now that I read that Woody wrote and performed at the Tamiment Tamiment Playhouse, And this is before he became, really big. And he created a sketch where a mad baker creates a chocolate cake, a giant chocolate cake that terrorizes people. So I found that was interesting that he drew back on that.
Oh, isn't this thing in the Catskills and stuff?
Yeah.
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 I saw that in that the documentary that they have on Amazon and Netflix. I don't even know if it's a full documentary,
Oh, really?
but
Check it out.
Well, I noticed in I don't know why I'm bringing this up now. I had a reason for it, but I forget now. So anyway, in the Woody Allen book, he's got Played Against Sam is between these two. And so I don't know the exact timeline for real, but was he still doing theater and play while he was making these first couple of movies? Do we know?
I don't know how the timeline lines up exactly, but I want to say no. I thought he was doing the plays, and then he got big into TV.
But then, I mean, he was still doing like Played Against Sam. I know he had written that was a play. I don't know when exactly that that debuted, but I mean, we had so he would have been working with Diane Keaton, I guess is what I'm getting at, sort of while he was making these last couple of movies anyway.
Oh, really?
Because I think that's how they met. I want to say it was maybe through doing plays together. Do you guys remember? Or have you ever read that?
No, you guys were more focused on the life. I was just watching the movies.
Well, I'd read the Eric Lax biography years ago. I don't remember exactly, but so because he was still with Lasser, he was still married to her? I think when he made these ones.
No, they were actually, I believe, divorced already.
Yeah.
Oh, they kept working together though.
Yes.
Okay. When did they get divorced? Was that before Take the Money Run or?
I think it was actually before Bananas. So
Okay.
Yeah.
maybe it was like right around there.
Because they do play off each other very well. I mean,
Yeah.
They do.
But go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it would. I think they were separated by the time they did Bananas. Yeah, and I just want to say about Lasser, her in that Italian sequence. Holy cow! I had to stop the movie and make double sure it was her.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going with that sentence. But
Oh, she was amazing in that sequence, no doubt.
well, go ahead.
I guess she's talented. I mean, everybody raves about that Mary Hartman, which I never watched, but that was like pretty groundbreaking, wasn't it?
It's supposed to be a great show. I never watched it either. I think we're a little outside of the. It's a little before our time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something interesting, I think, about Woody and his love life and how that intersects with his movies. And I would probably have to actually do real research again to really make any connections there. But with Lasser, and then because he and Keaton, I don't remember what their overlap is with when they were a couple and when they were not a couple but still working together. And I don't know. Do you guys wait? Because I want to say they did the play together. They did Play It Against Sam, and then they were dating for a while, and then they weren't dating, but then they still made all those movies. I don't remember if they were dating when they made Annie Hall, but it's interesting to me that he keeps dating his leading ladies, and then ex-leading ladies continue to still be his ex-girlfriends or wives or whatever still continue to be his leading ladies.
Well,
It's intriguing to me.
I guess that happens when you're like a talented writer and director. They probably maybe he was a bad husband, but he's going to give me good roles. I'll take it.
I don't know. I mean, there can't be that many people who are doing that, though, or at least who still would do that.
Date their co-stars?
More so have their exes be the leading ladies for that long and continue to have that creative working relationship.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You've got to be damn good to pull that off.
Right.
Because it was a pattern of behavior throughout his whole life. Like, I remember somebody talking to his first wife, Rosen, in one of the books, and she was telling this person that she thought that Woody and her could have still reconciled. And the guy said, well, what would you do about Lasser? And she had no idea about Lasser. And he's like, oh my God, I wanted to climb under the table at that point. But that was just, that's how Woody did it. He would set one up and then, move on to the next one.
What do you make about the timing where he stopped working with Diane Keaton?
I don't remember when he stopped working with her.
I think Manhattan's the last one, I think. And so you had then Stardust Memories and then Mia Farrow in Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy. I've always wondered if there might be some connection.
There was something on the side.
Maybe she was one that, didn't want to do it then, didn't want to work with them afterwards.
Well, I mean, because he stops using Lasser, right? And then he starts using Keaton. And then he stops using Keaton and starts using Mia. So, I don't know. It's interesting that even as exes, there seems to be... He goes from one to the next.
He should have won for Barbara Hershey. I always thought she was probably the best looking one out of those
She was,
chicks.
she was great.
The last episode, we're going to have to rank them all. That's it. Do we want to talk? Do we want to talk at all about the ejaculation sketch or no?
I guess we have
Sure.
to, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to skip that one. Did it make you uncomfortable, Tom? Is that why you're skipping it?
No, we can. I was trying to find more things to talk about than just, this was kind of funny. You know, it was okay.
Because I mean, if you're going to skip over it, that's fine. I just want to say this is my favorite one. I think
Is
actually.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was.
You take the reins.
I thought it was very clever. The part with the Catholic priest that gets drug out as guilt.
Yeah,
That
great.
killed. I knew you'd like that, Sean.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
The masturbation joke, like, what if he's masturbating? I'll wind up on a ceiling.
And he makes that gay joke. Yeah. What if it's a homosexual experience? Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting to tie it in again of how he perceives women. She's the one taking the reins in this little sexual episode they're having. She's the one that's taking charge. She's the one that's trying to keep the guy calm and, everything like that. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny skit, all the different parts of the body and stuff like that. It's definitely well done and funny. Tony Randall,
Tony Randall. Burt Reynolds is just there, just being Burt Reynolds. Doesn't give a shit.
Exactly.
I love that guy.
This one's probably way ahead of its time, interestingly, I feel like a lot of kids' movies use this sort of setup with the body and all the different operations. Because, that one, there's that Pixar one, I think, that had that just recently, like Inside Out or whatever, and then, what was it? There was Osmosis Jones or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I don't know. That's of the things he was ahead of his time on. It's interesting that we would see parallels between this particular segment and then children's films later on.
Yeah, he's cutting edge.
It is a good idea. I mean, they're all clever ideas, I think, when you get down to it.
Right. And I think that absolutely he is greeting the great ideas. He's just not finding the best way to interpret those ideas or express those ideas quite yet.
Well, would you say that, as he goes on, I don't know that the ideas necessarily throughout his whole career are still standing out as being so amazing, but he's making everything else work a lot better. Because Annie Hall is a pitch. I don't know that is so immediately clever, but the way that he executes it is great, and it works, and it's spectacular. So I don't know. Maybe it's just at this point in his career, it's all those those little ideas that he writes down on pieces of paper, and then he finds a way to make it work, and then the rest isn't working as well. But then it kind of reverses sort of as he goes on.
Right. No, I can totally see that happening. Yeah, it's concept versus follow through, and then once your follow through gets good enough, you don't need the concepts anymore.
Then I think when he goes back to concepts like Hollywood Ending is a kind of funny concept, but terrible movie, I would say.
Right. Well, I guess we're going to talk about the man. The man is on a track of isolation from the rest of the world. He's going to become kind of more closed in from everything else, and that's not going to be conducive to good ideas.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
That is a good point. He probably has less life experiences than a different writer, or you kind of have to meet different people to add them as characters. But he's gotten some good mileage out of his little enclave of whatever his society group is.
He talks specifically about this actually in the book. In the bananas section, they're talking about his use of having black characters in his movies, and the fact that he doesn't. And specifically, he says he's not thinking that when he writes the character. He says, in my political life, whatever that is, I'm always very pro all these candidates that want the most generous accommodations for blacks. I've marched with Martin Luther King in Washington, but when I'm writing, I don't believe in equal opportunity or affirmative action. You can't do that. So when I was trying to draw a picture accurately, it just seemed to me that those families in the Upper West Side always had black help, so that's the way I would do it. But I did get criticized for it. I'm just trying to depict the reality as I experience it, my own authenticity. And so, I mean, he's just throwing out. I'm not interested in having people who I don't know, essentially, or those sorts of people. At least
Well,
when he's talking about this one.
I mean, you can understand that. What do they say? Write what you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember. I think Stephen King once said years ago too that he's like, I don't write black characters well. That's why, because I don't think he's had too many. Maybe in his more recent books, which I haven't read too many of, but I remember him saying that once too. But I mean, it happens. Like if you don't grow up near them, or you know, you you might come off sounding writing them too stereotypical, which then you get blasted for even more.
I don't know. It's. I feel like in his answer specifically in the book, it's almost overly defensive. It sounds like for it to me, though. I mean, it's a valid point to say that if you don't know how to write, well, we talked about this even on the debate show, that if you're going to do a terrible job representing somebody who is not part of your group, it maybe isn't a good idea to try to do that. But I don't know. It's interesting to me that he seems like very. It's not even. It's almost like this closed off. He's happy to be closed off from everything else around him. And it almost sounds like he's just not interested in experiencing something that's outside of his comfort zone, let alone start to try to depict it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. He doesn't want to do that. he's dealing with life by trying to avoid pain and discomfort as much as he possibly can. I mean, that's why he won't leave apparently a wife or a longtime girlfriend until he's got somebody else lined up.
We definitely see that.
Yeah,
sure.
so I mean, I think we see somebody who doesn't want to experience pain or discomfort.
Or is he just too? Do you think he needs his routine? Like his whole life has to be the same routine. I have to, you know, write, do a movie, play my clarinet on Monday nights, be dating somebody. You know, maybe he's just like one of those people.
I think maybe now more than ever. I think he wants to keep the momentum going.
Dude, when you're 80, 85 or whatever he is,
right,
you kind of have to.
No, I think that's what he's doing right now. It's just he's got the momentum. He wants to keeps it going. Once he stops making movies, there's not going to be anything left.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like him and Eastwood are kind of in that same boat, I think.
Right. I would agree with that.
Well, except with Eastwood, I think you see more. Eastwood seems to not want to be limited to a comfort zone with the sorts of movies that he's making, even as he's getting up there in years. Whereas Woody hasn't really. I'd say outside once you get past like 95, has he really gone out of movies that he's sort of done before, or just in sort of different variations of things he's tried?
Not true, and that's a good point you made about Eastwood. But did he always? I guess he always did direct stuff out of his comfort zone. I guess
to some extent, at least. I mean, more so than Woody, I guess.
But Eastwood, yeah. Woody, yeah. I mean, I guess they're very different filmmakers. I guess.
I'd agree with what you said about momentum, but yeah, I think Clint wants to experience new things. He wants to see what else is out there.
I'd say Clint doesn't necessarily do a great job of getting out of his comfort zone. I think Woody has, I would say, a better track record of what he's doing. But I don't know. I think. Go ahead. I guess I kind of cut you off there anyway.
Oh no, go ahead. I want to hear your point.
Well, I guess what I was saying is I think Woody is really good at what he does, and I think even though some of the movies are getting more bland, that he's staying within what he knows very much, or he's doing sort of variation on something he's done before. Eastwood seems like he has less of that sort of. I don't want to use the word auteur exactly in this case, but he's bringing less of himself. It's less personal, and you can kind of tell that in what he's doing, and it's almost more just an exercise in directing. Whereas I think it's just different because Woody's writing them all at the same time, probably too.
That's yeah. I think that's a big part of it. Personally, like Eastwood's not really known as a writer. Somebody else is writing everything for him.
Right, and well, I think Woody's using this as his safety zone too. I think I would imagine that when he's not writing, when he's not making a movie, he's probably really uncomfortable. He's probably not happy, and so when he's it's not all about making the film itself. It's more about just enjoying being there, and I'm sure everybody else enjoys that experience too.
It's funny because then he always describes it as if it's this terrible thing. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's bad he's bad on set and everything. But I guess that's just a shtick we're always going to have with him.
Right, that's what he does. Well, what do you think? I guess we kind of glossed over the last episode. Woody has this perception of being himself in the movies. Is that just a shtick? Are we actually seeing Woody Allen in the films?
This is a great question, and I don't know that I have a good answer to it, though.
I guess we're going to find out by the end of this, huh?
I think we'll have to... that PBS documentary, whatever the one on Netflix that Shawn was talking about, I think I know which one he means. And that it's interesting watching it because he seems a lot more relaxed just about everything watching that. He's not as neurotic, I guess, really, at the end of the day. And so it's interesting. I guess without really doing the proper amount of research, my gut reaction seems to be that I think he's heightening a lot of negative things that he feels all the time and things that he maybe perceives about himself. Mm-hmm. But he may be a lot more normal than he lets on.
Yeah, or maybe by 75, 80, you kind of got to figure it out, hopefully.
That's true. He was younger.
But, I guess we never stop growing, or we're probably all insecure about ourselves in ways, obviously, and he's no different. He's just more out there.
Do you think that his insecurities being part of the driving force of what he was choosing to write ultimately was limiting to him, sort of as he got later on, like the later 90s, early 2000s era?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe so.
I'm not sure. I mean, do you think he writes maybe as therapy? Writing could be therapy. You can put shit out there about yourself and put it towards a fictional character, and it's kind of like bearing your soul out there to people without really doing it, even though most people know what you're doing.
I think we're going to see that. I think that's coming up just around the bend. I think we're going to see a lot of that, writing as therapy, coming up.
We may even start to see some of it in the next episode when we're getting to like Love and Death, while he's doing all those philosophical questions, because it's he's doing a riff on Russian literature, which had all those questions in it. I think that those questions don't really go away ever for him, those same ones, and I wonder if part of that sort of was unlocking some of the things that he was able to sort of go through. I guess when we watch it, we'll sort of look for it a little bit more, but I wonder if in sort of doing it in a goofy way, addressing all these very philosophical concerns, very blatantly paved the way for him to do that in a more earnest sense.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think
it'll be a fun one.
Okay.
I think the next couple of shows we're going to be hitting like the good meat of his, catalog. I think.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah, because we got Bananas, Sleeper, and Love and Death. Then Annie Hall and Interiors. That'll be a weird one.
Very weird one.
Then Manhattan Stardust Memories. That'll probably be my favorite of the two.
That's going to be a great time. Yeah.
Yeah, we got on the next Woody Allen show. All right. Well, any lingering thoughts? Any last things we want to talk about with either of these movies?
I think we did a pretty good job parsing all this stuff.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think the two of these, not his best, but like you can see him becoming himself, hopefully.
Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Listen, even James Cameron gave us Piranha 2 this morning, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that their standard? Is that what we're holding everybody up to, is James Cameron?
No, I love that for a Woody Allen show, too.
They're so similar, aren't they?
Yeah. The Woody Cinematic Universe. Yep.
All right. Well, that's probably a good note to end on, though. Him finding himself, becoming himself a little bit more in these. I mean, I think it's true, and I think we'll see it more. I'm looking forward to the next couple or at least the next couple of movies will be really fun.
Oh, I think
absolutely.
So too. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's probably all we got then, right?
That's all I got for now. Yep. I guess we've got 4 weeks to
to prepare.
Yes, to mull over the questions we've presented here today.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next month, I guess.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.